Good morning, ultimate hustlers and digital empire builders. It is that time for the Cortez Hustle Show, and I am your host, Cortez Hustle. And today we're talking about how do you become the best version of yourself with Philip Sessions. When I tell you that the best version of yourself is a confident version of yourself, the best version of yourself is a version of yourself that can express yourself in authenticity, then that's what Philip is going to help us understand today, the importance of that, but more importantly, how to do that. How do we develop that confidence, that inner glow, that swag, as some people call it? Yeah, it's going down today, man. So I need y'all to do me a huge favor. Comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand. Smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, and let's kick it this morning. Yo, what's up, ultimate hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, coming to you live and direct from the Social Media Consistency Challenge Studios right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Yes, if you want to be more consistent on social media, then I need you to do me a favor. Text Daily Hustle to 314-730-3999, and we're going to show you how to become more consistent on social media. Literally, you will get an email from me for 21 days straight with an infographic to post, the captions and the hashtags, and a short video on how to use the content for the day. Do it for 21 days. You'll have a habit of posting on social. You'll get more consistent. You'll start building your following. So text Daily Hustle to 314-730-3999. Today, we're talking about how do you become your best self. I got a special guest in the building, Mr. Philip Sessions, is going to be talking all about how do you develop that confidence, especially when it comes to speaking, right? Especially when it comes to authenticity and being vulnerable and all of those things, man. I can't wait to get into this conversation. But a couple quick announcements before we get into that. For those of you who do not know, on Fridays, we do Free Game Friday. So tomorrow, tune in and be prepared to ask your questions about business or marketing. And we do that live every Friday called Free Game Fridays, because I give up the game for free. Stuff that you have to go and pay money for, we'll answer your questions as it relates to your business specifically today. And that's on Friday morning. So make sure you guys come back tomorrow morning to check that out. Also, for those of you who are in the St. Louis area or you frequent the St. Louis area, there's a new deals site coming online. And if you sign up this month, you have an opportunity to win a free vacation to Cancun, Mexico. So make sure y'all check out stlhotdeals.com. If you want free stuff from local St. Louis businesses, then y'all make sure y'all check that out. So I have the distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure of introducing a young man who is all about helping individuals and entrepreneurs as well. And that's why we have him on our show today, with speaking, with confidence, with learning how to be the best version of yourself, because confidence is it, y'all. You're not going to, as we were talking backstage, you're not going to sell any of your products. You're not going to get anybody interested in anything that you have going on. You'll never develop into a leader, and you might even not get a mate if you don't understand how to be your most confident self, learn how to speak with confidence and authority. And he helps individuals and entrepreneurs do just that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to some of you guys and present to others, Mr. Philip Sessions. Good morning, Phil. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm great. How about you?
I am doing extremely well, man. Happy to have you on the program this morning. And I can't wait to get into all of what it is that you do and how you do it. But before we do any of that, brother, we start every show on the Cortez Hustle Show with a quote of the day. And basically, I'm going to share a quote, and you can either comment on mine, or if you have a favorite quote that you like to share, then you can share that as well. And our audience, usually those who are watching live and are able to type, will maybe type in one of their favorite quotes as well. But as I listen to my morning motivation as I'm preparing for the day, something normally punches me right in the gut, brother. And that's usually what I share for the day. So today, I heard, be self-motivated. Don't give that job to someone else. Because what if that person doesn't show up? And I thought about that. I was like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, if I'm waiting on somebody else to motivate me, what if that person gets sick, calls out, and don't show up today? So I just go through my day, through my life without being motivated. Be self-motivated, people. Do not outsource that job to anyone else. Brother Phil, you got a favorite quote, or do you want to chime in on that one?
I kind of want to do both. I'll say my quote first and then chime in on that a little bit. My favorite quote is really, a rising tide lifts all boats, and really around a similar aspect there, where the rising tide lifts all boats. Those around you, as they're rising up, as you're rising up, everybody rises up together, and we really should work together. But on the other side, with that quote, we need to make sure that we're not relying on somebody to lift us up, to give us that praise. We need to make sure that we are reliant on ourselves. I love that. And it's so true. I think as we get started in any endeavor, we're looking for validation from other people. And honestly, especially if it's something out of left field, which we'll get into literally with what I do, people aren't going to support it because it's out in left field. That's something that you've never been done before. And that's what they're going to say. Well, why can you do that? You've never done it before. So make sure that you are self-motivated for sure.
I absolutely love that. And I see your shirt, Jesus is my strength, makes me think of King David. At some point, you have to encourage thyself, brother. It's not always going to be someone around to encourage you. You got to know how to encourage yourself at the same time. So, Philip, I ask everybody who comes on the Cortez Hustle Show this question, so you don't get to escape it. I'm going to ask it to you as well. And the question is this, my friend: who the heck are you?
Well, first and foremost, I am a Christian, as we can see with the shirt here, but I'm a husband, father, a podcaster, public speaker, you name it. I got a lot of titles, if you will, but my favorite definitely right now is being a father. Got a little 6-month-old. She's the most precious thing ever. Looks just like me. So, of course, my wife is completely upset about that. She spent 9 months basically baking this thing, comes out and it looks like a spitting image of me. We even have a little birthmark on the back of our neck, exactly the same. Or, we both just have that reddish birthmark and everything. So it's funny. But I mean, engineer is still doing that full time right now as I build up the speaking coaching, which I said totally different engineering, mathematics. And now I'm going to speak in front of people and everything. And so that's just a little background on me.
Interesting tidbit about firstborns. Do you know why firstborns are spitting images of the father?
I've heard some stuff that kind of goes back to the primal days, if you will, to make sure that the father knows that child looks as theirs because it looks like them.
Absolutely. That keeps the father from killing off that child. If that child does not look like the father, that man says, this is not my baby. So I want to kill off any other lineage, and we're gonna do this again until it is my baby. So yeah, that's why the firstborn typically, especially right out of the womb. Now it's probably gonna change and start looking like mom, but right out of the womb, it looks just like dad, so that dad's like, okay, yeah, that's me. Because I mean, we don't do that today, obviously. Kill off the firstborn or kill off a baby that's not ours. But primally speaking, yeah, that was the deal. It's like, hey, man, if this baby don't look like me, it ain't mine, and I'm not raising somebody else's lineage. It's gotta go. So I think about that every time I hear someone with their first baby, and I'm like, man, yeah, it looks just like that. I'm sure that's an instinctive thing. But so background, man, is important to us here on the Cortez Hustle Show because there's a gazillion and one ways to do entrepreneurship. There's a lot of paths and roads that lead to it. You kind of alluded to the fact that you're an engineer, and we think engineer, analytical thinker, not usually the people who find themselves in entrepreneurship. And we're going to get into all of that. But take us back into the life of young Philip, man. I want to get the backstory, right? How were you raised? Let's go elementary, middle school, high school. What kind of shaped young Philip coming up?
Yeah, grew up in a conservative family household, Christian-based household and everything. Elementary, man, I was the shy kid. I remember in third grade, literally missed a day of school, and this kind of goes with how I'm nerdy. But when I got back the next day, I asked the teacher, "Hey, what did I miss?" And she turns to me, and I don't know if she was joking or not to this day, but she says, "You missed?" And I'm like, is that a bad teacher, or is that literally how quiet I was? And I'm pretty sure it was more on the quiet side. But she really thought I missed school, or didn't know I missed school, rather. And so just like I was just this quiet, introverted kid. Fast forward a little bit to high school, started to come out a little bit of my shell because I had friends that I was close with and really, really could just talk about things. And I guess it helped a little bit. I did get a little bit bigger, a little bit more muscular, but that was really just a growth spurt I had. Gained 30 pounds and grew 4 inches from 8th grade to 9th grade year over the summer.
Oh, wow.
And somehow it looked like muscle, even though I didn't work out. So I guess good genetics there. But then when I went off to college, I said, hey, I want to change my identity. I'm tired of being this person that's kind of passed over, that especially girls don't talk to, they don't really look at, because I wasn't this confident person. I wasn't confident in myself. I would never speak up for myself. I would barely speak up for others. And so I wanted to change that. And I decided, hey, I'm going off. I grew up in the Houston area, went to school in San Antonio, Texas. And I decided, you know what? Fresh start. I'm going to change my identity. Went through that, got into fitness, got into lifting and everything, and decided to do engineering as well because I graduated 2009 from high school. That was kind of when there's a big downturn we know about, and said, hey, engineering stable, good income. Let's do that. I got all the way to the end. I had my second of 30 semesters of my senior year. So yes, it took me 3 semesters to get through that. So I did a half victory lap, but I was like, oh, I love this fitness thing. This is what I want to do. But I was like, man, you're right here at the end. That's going to be like another 2 years. Let's just get out, make that money. You can do it later.
Yeah.
And it took me about another 4 or 5 years before I said, hey, I'm going to try this fitness thing out. And I started getting into fitness coaching and helping people with online fitness coaching. But then mindset coming up. And I was like, there's more to this. There's more than this fitness thing. I love the fitness thing, but there's more to it. And then I actually had an opportunity. I work at BMW Manufacturing as a controls engineer, automating the process of building cars, essentially. So again, totally different than speaking, but I had an opportunity to go over to HR and work on leadership and professional development skills.
Gotcha.
And so with some of our entry-level management, one of the things that we're lacking was presentation skills. And I was on that project working on that. I'm still working on it right now, but I'm back in engineering. They asked me to go back to engineering. And I've realized from that, hey, there's this opportunity. There's people that need this help. And besides, I need the help. I wanted to get on stages myself. So I needed to create this for myself so I could get on stages. And that's really where I've kind of came. So I came from a super shy, introverted kid that would never talk, to wanting to talk, to really trying to push himself to become this talker, to get on stage. And that's where I'm at, getting on stages and now helping others as well, is going back to the fitness thing. I could create impact for one individual's life, maybe the family, if you wanted to look at that, but I couldn't
Mhm.
impact more people. And so the speaking coaching really helps that, because I can teach people how to speak, and then they can go help other people with their skill set that I don't have. And so it really just keeps passing on, and the impact I can create is even bigger and better. And that's ultimately what I want to do, is create the most impact possible while I'm here on this earth.
I love it, man. And I think people tend to miss that part of why we are created in the way that we are created, that we are created to be social. We are created to be interdependent, meaning
Hmm.
depending one on another, not independent, not dependent, not codependent, certainly not codependent, but interdependent. Everybody bringing something unique to the table, but
Mm.
we all need each other in order to create this whole life that we are building. So, was the engineering gig with BMW the first job out of college for you?
No, it's actually probably the fourth. So I did
Okay.
bounce around a little bit, trying to find my way as well. And
Hmm.
even now, I mean, it's a great job. I do enjoy the work, but my heart's more on helping people. And I always
Yeah.
say I like talking with people more than I like talking with robots and computers.
Yeah, I can
So,
relate, brother. I can relate. So when you got out of school, you talked about recognizing and realizing some of the mindset challenges that people had around um, either working out and staying disciplined enough to work out themselves, but you also helped out some entrepreneurs who were in the fitness space. They too had some mindset issues
mhm.
and things that, what were some of the things that you saw commonly that were holding people back? Whether I wanted to change my physique and I was experiencing a mental block, or I wanted to grow my business and something mentally was holding me back. Do you see some common threads between whether you were working out or whether you were trying to grow your business, just improve in general? Do you see some common threads in terms of mindset areas that people were lacking?
Oh yeah, the biggest thing was that people didn't want to do the things that they didn't want to do. They didn't
Mm,
want to do the things they didn't want to do, but those were the things that were going to get them where they wanted to go.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we oftentimes negate those. We try and do the little tasks, the little things that are fun, that are easy to just check off the box.
Hmm.
But we don't do those big things that are actually going to change things for us.
Yeah,
And I don't
yeah.
know if it's because of some kind of self-limiting belief, self-sabotaging thing, or what it is, but I think all of us as humans, we want to stick with the easy thing. We want to stick with the thing that's comfortable for us, to keep ourselves where we're at, because we know what we're doing right
Hmm.
now. We don't know what's over there on the other side
Yeah,
once we actually
yeah.
do those things. So it's just interesting that that's always been what's held people back. They don't want to do the things that they don't want to do, which is
Hmm.
what's going to get them where they want to go.
Absolutely. It is that hard thing. Jim Rohn is one of my favorite speakers that I like to listen to in the morning.
Mm,
And he basically says, choose your heart, right?
mm,
For me, I talk about entrepreneurship and finances and wealth building as a Black man coming out of the inner cities and being raised by a single mom on welfare is really important to me to help people to see that you can change your whole family's tree financially with some simple disciplines, right? But he would often say that, living in poverty is hard. Becoming
mm.
wealthy or rich or even financially secure is also hard. So choose your heart, right? Which one has the biggest
Yeah.
upside? It's hard for me to live as a broke man, but it's also hard for me to get money. So
Yeah.
both of them are hard. Pick one, right? So
Yep.
it sounds like you ran into a lot of people who were running from their heart. It's like, okay, you don't like where you are right now, whether that's you don't like your physique, you don't like your fitness level, you don't like where your business is. So it's hard for you to be here, but then you don't want to do the hard thing to get you to the next level. You got to pick one of the hard, man. It's one or the other. So I love that. And
Hmm.
coming out of college and dealing with those folks, how did that help you realize that, you know what, am I running from some hard things? Do I need to reshape my mindset a little bit, right? Because as entrepreneurs, I often say that as much as it is about the customer, this journey is about the individual entrepreneur at the same time. So talk about when you were seeing some of those things in other people. Was that like a reflection that you were looking at for yourself?
Yeah, some of those things for sure. I would actually say I found a lot of the self-reflection on myself as I went through my first bodybuilding show, though. That
Nice.
was
Okay.
extremely hard. But this was as I was trying to build out this whole fitness business, trying to build
Mhm.
it. That's
Yes.
the very key because I was spending all this time on bodybuilding. Of course, I was working
Mhm.
at the time. I was still in engineering, working 10 to 12-hour days, 6, 7
Mhm.
days a week. So doing that, but then I'm also doing this bodybuilding show, working out 2 hours at a minimum a day,
Mhm.
7 days
Mhm.
a week. So I'm
Yeah.
spending all this time on work to obviously have an income to make money to be able to sustain myself, but then I'm
Mhm.
also working out. But then I never spent this time on my business.
Yeah.
And but I kept getting frustrated. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm spinning in circles. I'm never getting anywhere. I'm helping some people, but I know I'm never going to get out of the business the way things are going. So I
Yeah.
finally had to do some self-reflection and realize, just like with a lot of people with fitness, where they have the idea or they go to the gym a little bit, they eat healthy a little bit, but they never fully commit to it. It was the same thing
Mhm.
for me with business. I was
Yeah.
committed to my current 9 to 5 job, if you will, although it wasn't 9 to 5, it was 7 to 7. And
Right.
then also to the bodybuilding show. But I
Yeah.
wasn't committed to the business. I wasn't putting time and emphasis and the priority on that. And
Mhm.
so that's what a lot of us do. It's not that we can't do something, it's just that we don't prioritize it. So really through that
Yeah.
self-reflection is where I found to help me with the entrepreneur side.
Yeah, that's big, man. The commitment piece, like it is like the word decision is the opposite of the word incision, right?
Hmm.
Incision means you're going to cut in something. Decision means you're going to cut away something.
Mm.
And when you decide, you make that commitment, you cut away a lot of the fluff, a lot of the stuff that's not going to get you where you want to be. So that's also a huge barrier. I remember my background in terms of building businesses started in the network marketing space, the MLM space, and I remember my coaches and mentors would say, "You have to spend, at least an hour a day in your business, right?" And you know what
Mhm.
I did, Phil, on some of those hours, because we were big on personal growth and self development. So I had all the books. I got my bookshelf over here. So one of the days that I was working in my business, I said, okay, I'm going to do some work in my business today. I pulled all of my books off my bookshelf so that I can write my name on the spine of the book, right? And that's what I call working in my business. Now, you and I both
Yep.
know that nobody's buying no products and nobody is joining my team with that activity. But sometimes we do tasks like that to what we call the busy work instead of the
Mhm.
business work, right? Things are
Mhm.
going to bring customers in, improve experience, make the money, make the needle move. So I appreciate your transparency on that. But now it's time for us to get to one of my favorite segments of the show. It's called 1 Minute Motivation. You're a big guy into motivation. You had to be. You were a bodybuilder, right? Something
Oh,
had
yeah.
to keep you
Oh, yeah.
going, keep you pumped up. So on the Cortez Hustle Show, we do 1 minute motivation. That's where I play a short motivational video, usually 60 to 90 seconds or so. And I ask those who are watching us live if they have the ability to type to comment or takeaway. I'm going to give you a takeaway or two, and then I'm going to ask you for a takeaway or two as well. So let's get into 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show.
Goal. See, once you have that North Star, and I want you to have that North Star, now it's a matter of what can I do today that will take me closer to that North Star? What can I do right now that will inch me closer to the goal I'm trying to reach? So we have to trust and respect and appreciate the process.
If you were to go to the gym, right? It's like exercise, right? If you go to the gym and you work out and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing. And if you go to the gym the next day and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing. So clearly there's no results, can't be measured, it must not be effective. So we quit, right? Or if you fundamentally believe that this is the right course of action and you stick with it, you commit yourself to the regime, the exercise. You can screw it up. You can eat chocolate cake one day, you can skip a day or two. It allows for that. But if you stick with it consistently, I'm not exactly sure what day, but I know you'll start getting into shape. I know it. It's not about the events. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency.
Hoo-wee. I don't know
Mm.
about you, Phil, but that moved me, and I had no idea that you were a bodybuilder, and that clip was going to talk a little bit about fitness and bodybuilding.
I know, it just happened to line up perfectly.
But that is, one of the reasons that I do this, especially when I have a guest, and I love to do it with a guest because we all just listen to the same clip. But based on where we are in life, we all heard something very different. So what did you hear, my friend?
I heard, the North Star, what I think about is starting with the end in mind. You're looking for that point way out there to go after. And that's a lot of things that we fail at. We just think about losing some weight. Well, what does that mean, losing weight? We need to think about how much weight we want to lose. When do we want to lose it? Try and get as much detail as we can. And I get it, especially when you first start setting out goals, starting that business. It's hard to come up with that because you've never done it before. That muscle hasn't been built up yet. So you need to start thinking with that end in mind and try and make it something more than just so vague as, oh, I want to lose weight, because you can lose a pound and that's you lost weight. But I guarantee you're going to be upset if you spent 4 months to lose 1 pound. So make sure that end in mind, that North Star, I love that. And then of course the consistent action, I think that stuck out as well. And notice that it was take one small step today. It wasn't about, I'm going to take this huge leap. I'm going to take a huge leap to be able to get to where I need to go. And it's just going to be, a massive action, one massive step. And then I'm there. It's all about taking a little step at a time. And then next thing you know, you're there. I mean, it may take years, but those are the two things that I really picked up from that.
I love it. I love it. My man, Mark Presswood. Good morning, Mark. He's always on the show, always engaged. And he says the small changes add up. You absolutely are right. That North Star, man, hit me. Where are you going? Like, seriously, where are you going? Where are you trying to get to? Right. And are you taking little steps, making progress every day? Like sometimes I don't think enough of us look back and see how far we've come, right? We're always looking ahead to see how far we have to go, but we never look back and say, yeah, I got 2 miles to go, but I've already traveled 10 miles. And I think sometimes that, for me, becomes the motivation to keep me going. Because I know when I started this journey years ago that the entrepreneur that I am today is so far removed from that guy that first started out saying, hey, I'm going to help people understand that having a business is the shortest distance between working class and building wealthy, right? That guy I'm so far removed from that. As far as I have to go, right? I don't know if you know my aspiration, right? I'm building a multi-billion-dollar international media conglomerate starting with this podcast, right? That's a long way off. But when I look back from the start in 2015, I've come a long way, and that keeps me going. And man, showing up every day, the consistency part. If I am nothing else, Phil, I am consistent. I show up every day. Sometimes I get here and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm here, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't have a plan, man, figure it out when you get there. But it makes me think about, I'm a Marvel fan. And in one of the Marvel movies, I think it's the Avengers movie, and Captain America and Iron Man are on the plane, and Thor comes in and he steals Loki off the plane, and Iron Man is going after him. And Captain America says, wait, we need a plan of action. And what did Iron Man say? I have a plan. Act. And that, for me, is a game changer, because sometimes that's all the plan is for me, Phil. The plan is to act, to show up. I'll figure out what I'm going to do when I get there. But the plan is to act, to do something, and do it every day, and see where the chips may fall in 5 years, 10 years. So appreciate that. Mark says consistency is action. Your goals are the North Star. The compound effect is important. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Philip Sessions version. Make sure you check out his website at speakingsessions.com. So, Philip, we kind of got your background, and we saw how you progressed through hey, I did the smart thing, I did the safe thing, went into engineering. I know that engineers are always going to be needed. I'm always going to have a place in the economy, so to speak, because even when the world is overrun by robots, somebody has to repair those robots. Somebody has to communicate with. So you did the safe thing, but at the same time, something inside was tugging at you, right? Like, yeah, I'm gonna have an impact on this company, right? If I do my job well, I'm gonna have an impact on the people who consume this product, right? The BMW fleet of vehicles and that thing. But you saw yourself having the ability to have an even greater impact. When you first came to that realization, what was the first few things that you did to go down the path to making the pivot into, okay, here's how I think I can make the biggest impact?
Really just starting to take that action, just like Iron Man, like that story you mentioned, just taking that action, deciding and acting upon that. That's really the biggest thing. I mean, nothing besides that. I mean, having some ideas of what I wanted to do, but yeah, just the idea, taking some action on it and figuring it out as I went along. I mean, that's what I love to do. I know not a lot of people are that way. They need that structure, need to know exactly what to do. A lot more like Captain America, but I'm more like Iron Man in that sense, where it's like, hey, I know what needs to happen. I know where I want to go, and I'm just going to start going and figure it out as I go. Like the typical entrepreneur building a parachute on the way down as they jump out of the plane.
Man. Absolutely. So you kind of had a little bit of a nudge because you got asked to be on the leadership training committee in HR at your company, and you start teaching leadership and presentation skills, which I don't care who you are. If you're not confident, I don't care if you're presenting to a friend or presenting to a bunch of strangers. When did you realize that confidence and speaking was a critical element that people were missing?
If I really think about it and go back, probably when I was trying to get into relationships before I found my wife, just try to get a girlfriend. I mean, think about it. If I went up to a girl, hey, how are you doing? Like, would you like to go out this weekend? They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't even know what he wants. Does he even really want me? They're gonna be questioning it. So really coming in with that confidence, but just seeing how some of the people presented themselves is like, sitting in on these presentations, some of these assessments that we did, seeing how they presented themselves. The person that was very confident, even if they didn't know everything, they came off as more, can't say the word. Basically, it looked like they knew what they were talking about, and the person that was very unconfident, they didn't. And I could think back as well to back in, I think I was a sophomore in college. And there was this presentation that my friend or two of my friends and I had to do. The one buddy, super good dude, super smart. He literally did everything. Then we got together like the day before, a couple days before, and he's like, okay, here's what the project is. Here's how we made an electronic stethoscope. And basically to monitor or to be able to hear our heart and everything. Yeah. And he's like, here's how it works. Here's what you need to talk about. Literally gave us everything, created PowerPoint and everything. And me and my friend that did nothing got higher grades than him because he was so nervous. And so I think back to that. Like this guy, like literally did everything, knew everything. And I mean, he got a 90, so it wasn't like he got like a 60 or, failed or anything. But we got 100 and 105 because we were so confident, because he sounded nervous. It sounded like he didn't know what he was talking about. So that's all of those things is really where that confidence I found comes in when it comes to speaking, because it really helps you sell.
Gotcha.
But there is a caveat to it. Confidence is great, but there is one thing that is just as important as well. Okay. And that's actually having belief in yourself or in your product. You can be the most confident person, especially when it comes to selling a product. But if you don't believe, like, let's say you want to sell a $5 bottle of water. If you don't believe that bottle of water is worth $5, you're probably not going to sell it. But if you really, truly believe that this bottle of water is actually worth probably like $10 or $20, but I'm selling it to you for $5, you're going to sell the crap out of those. Yeah. Because you're probably thinking, man, this bottle is really worth $20, but I'm going to sell it to you for $5. Man, this is a huge deal for you. Or you could be the unconfident person thinking, well, you can probably go right down the street, buy this very similar bottle of water for $1. I don't know why you'd spend $5 with me. And so you become, a little unconfident, but you don't have the belief in your product as well. So you have to have the confidence and the belief in order to be great at speaking.
I love that. And so that leads me to my next line of questioning, right? When you are speaking, you are the product. So that means I got to have confidence in myself, and I got to have belief in myself, right? I tell people on this show all the time, good book says all things are possible for they that believe. Didn't say all things are possible for they that got a spouse that believes, or they that got parents that believe, because everybody else could believe if you don't believe. So how do you help people who are struggling in that, you know what, I just don't believe in me enough, right? What would you say to someone who wants to do this speaking thing? They've got a message that can transform the lives of other people, but they're struggling in their own belief in themselves to get to a place where they're ready to step out there.
I always ask them, if it's not you, then who's going to do it? Right? Who is really going to do it? Who's going to speak that's just like you? You and I here, we could literally say the exact same message and impact different people because of our background, because of the way we say it, because of how people know us. When I wasn't a dad, if I talked about being a father and how you should raise children, even now people look at me like I'm crazy because I only got a 6-month-old. They're like, yeah, you don't know about raising teenagers. But but I could talk about it all day long, and I could give very good advice, very sound advice, but I don't have that background on it. And so somebody if that's had kids, or maybe they're 80 years old and their kids are all grown, they can tell you all about that and tell you how to raise them right and everything. And you're more likely to listen to them because you understand that. But that's the same point if we are in that same boat, because you grew up in the St. Louis area and I grew up now here in Greenville, South Carolina, where I'm raising my kids. We raise our kids in different areas. We're going to have different people look at us and say, okay, I resonate with what you're talking about. You understand where I'm coming from because you're from the St. Louis area versus I'm from the Greenville area. I couldn't talk about how to raise a kid in the St. Louis area because I don't know the area. So that's the thing. So we could talk about the same message. So don't let that get in your head, because that gets in people's heads a lot. Also, your voice. Your voice does not sound weird to other people. One person I always like to mention to help people get over that mindset part is Tony Robbins. He is a very, very successful speaker and a very good speaker as well. But dude has a weird voice and he knows it, but he still speaks anyways. So you just have to get out of your own headspace, and that's what I really go through and help out with as well. So mindset is a huge part of it, getting that self-confidence, getting that self-belief as well, and helping them understand the importance of why you need to get your message out there, because you're going to be able to help one person. That's the big thing. Help one person. You don't need to help a million people. Help one person, and that's going to benefit so many.
I remember the first time I heard my voice outside of my head. Right. It was, and it wasn't in the most flattering place, because we were doing, I think I was a junior or senior in high school, and we were doing something called field day. So we were out and about, and I was part of the AV team and just signed up to get out of the class. Right. And we were actually doing some filming, and one of the guys with the camera actually filmed the young ladies behind. Right. And I made a comment on the video. So when we were watching the video back, and I heard this comment and everybody laughed. I'm like, who in the heck was that? They're like, that was you. I was like, that's how I sound to y'all.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I started out that journey like, man, I don't like the way I sound. And I had to deal with it and had to get over that. And one of the things that helped me, I actually worked in a call center for years, and people will always say, man, you got a voice for radio. Man, you ever do anything? Man, listen, you sound like Denzel. You sound like Morgan Freeman. And I was like, oh, really? So that kind of helped me. But I remember the first time I heard my voice, I didn't recognize it, and I certainly did not like it. But that's something that a lot of people have to get over, right? I think I heard a guy say one time, and you give me your thoughts on this as well. what helps me when I'm feeling discouraged or I feel fear, he said, ask yourself this question: who else loses if you don't win? And I was like, oh man, that is something. That's a gut punch, because sometimes you may not do certain things for yourself, but when you realize everybody else that's tied to your victories, then that gives you courage and confidence to move through. So I know you got the 6-month-old and the wife. Who else do you do this for, Phil?
Yeah, I do it for future generations. Before obviously having the daughter, was about my future children, being able to show them that example, and really the example that you don't have to do the normal 9 to 5 thing. You can
Mhm.
go do whatever you want. Again, going back, I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
Becoming a speaking coach, I mean, that's totally different things.
Mhm.
But that's the
Mhm.
beauty of especially living in the United States of America, is that we can become whatever we decide we want to be. I always think about this poop business, literally a poop business in Charleston, South Carolina,
Mhm.
where there's a company that goes around, because it's a city ordinance as well, but the horse carriages, of course, the horses just poop and pee in the street. There's a
Mhm.
business that goes around and picks up that poop and pee. Literally, that is their business. I'm like, you could create a
Yeah.
business for anything. So I
You're
just
not gonna
encourage
say
people to
it,
do that.
Philip, but I'm gonna say it. In America, you could literally sell shit
Yeah.
and win. You can
Hey,
literally,
manure for gardens.
you can literally sell shit in this country, and that's a
Mhm.
business. So yeah, I love that, and a lot of people don't see their gifts and talents as valuable as they are,
Mhm.
because they come naturally to them. Like some of the things
Mhm.
that I do with ease, because of the way I was brought up and how I think and all that kind of stuff. It amazes me that people want to give me money to help them with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah.
nothing. And I had to get out of that, um, doing it for free all the time, because it comes so easily to me.
Mhm.
But it's all about the value that the other people see in it that makes it's such an amazing thing. So how's it going as an entrepreneur, coming out of the engineering world? What was the mindset shift that you had to make from the analytical thinker to the creative free enterprise thinking? Because we know that entrepreneurs and employees have two different mindsets. So, what was that transition like to get you to thinking more like an entrepreneur? And was it easy? Was it difficult for you? How has that process been?
It is difficult. I mean, really, just everything that you do has to add up to something. Just being an engineer, it's all about a system and a process. You
Mhm.
create a system and a process and put it into place, and then it's good to go. It's automatic, especially with what I do. It's something that's just going to continue to run. So you have to think about somewhat of a big picture, but it's only one piece to this massive puzzle. Whereas whenever you're
Mhm.
going to entrepreneurship, now you have to think about everything. How does
Yeah.
this affect it? How do you get lead gen? How do you get sales? How do you market yourself? How do you have a conversation with somebody? How does
Mhm.
this piece of content relate back to what you're trying to do, where your end goal is? It's not just about one little piece anymore. And you're actually having to think about everything for yourself.
Yeah.
Really, just thinking about the grand picture of it all has been the hardest thing for me. Sales has also been a challenge for me, but I would say
Mhm.
how everything ties together. And there's just so many things to learn, especially being an engineer, just being on the analytical side. I just think about the process, how to improve that process, not how
Mhm.
do I actually create that process? What
Yeah.
is that process? So
Right.
that's been the big challenge for me, is really actually being the one to create the whole process and not
Mhm.
just part of a process.
Gotcha. I love it. And you are like me, serious about content creation for social media, right? I think
Mhm.
I try to help people understand that every entrepreneur is in 3 businesses before they even sell anything, right?
Mhm.
And if you can wrap your mind around these 3 businesses, you'll be fine no matter what it is you're selling. First, you're in a relationship business, starting with the
Mm.
relationship with yourself. We talked about belief. You're also in the media business, and a lot of entrepreneurs can't wrap their mind around media is how you market, whether it's social media, print media, or whatever. But you're also in a tech business. I see so many entrepreneurs still talking about, well, Cortez, I don't do that computer stuff. Like, you walk around with a computer in your pocket every day. What do you mean you don't do that computer stuff? Right?
Yeah.
You're going to grow your business. But talk about some of the challenges you've seen and how you've helped people overcome that challenge of leveraging the power of social media and creating content that creates those conversations that could lead to sales.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love all those things. That's so true. I mean, relationships is the foundation for sure. You have to have those relationships, whether it be online or not. But for me, what I help, especially my clients out with, is really the power behind social media and the fact that, hey, you want to get on stage, but you don't do videos. I don't understand. I mean, how do you expect to get on stage and not do videos? Yes, you can build the relationships up. Maybe you'll talk with some people, but if you want to get on stages that aren't your friends or aren't your mom's school that she teaches at or something, you're going to have to be on social media. So that's what I go through and tell people all the time and help people out with, is really getting your voice out there. But it starts with that end goal. Again, we talked about that North Star and that motivational video, which is just perfect with all this, is that end goal. You have to have that in mind. Where are you trying to go? And then what do you want to speak on? A lot of people, I want to go on stage. What do you want to speak on? I don't know. well, how am I going to come to you as a host of an event and say, hey, I would like to have you on my stage? And then what can you speak on? Oh, I don't know. Well, I want to be on stage. Yeah. So you need to have an idea what you want to speak on as well. Yeah. And then on social media, you start talking about those things and positioning yourself as an expert. And the reason why I say videos, yes, you could do some pictures. I mean, obviously there's going to be pictures in there, and maybe you don't do all videos or anything like that. And maybe it's only say 20% videos. I would suggest a lot more than that, especially with how the algorithms are pushing short video content right now. But if I can go watch a few of your videos and get an idea for, Cortez, who you are, then, oh man, like, okay, I know who you are. I can understand how you speak, how you're impacting people, how you're influencing others. I want to have you on, let's start my podcast. All right. And then we go to my stage now. And there can be things we do. But if I don't ever see you do a video, I'm like, man, you got some great written content. But writing content versus speaking on a video, two totally different things. You can sit there and prepare yourself and everything. And I understand you can edit a video as well. But I get to know how you interact with your audience. How do you actually speak to your audience? Because I can know if you actually know what you're talking about as well. So that's what I always do with clients, is help them understand their end goal, what they want to speak about on stage, and then backtrack to using social media.
Gotcha. Yeah. That is one of the secret reasons that when I first started doing a daily show, I subscribe to something called forced accountability. I have to literally make myself do certain things. And I was building my business. It had grown to a certain point and it kind of flatlined. And because the way I built it initially, I was doing a daily show. I used to do something called the financial health traffic report, right? My wife and I carpool to work. So she would literally sit in the passenger seat, and she would record me giving a 3 to 5 minute tip on something that I was learning in finances, right? So I would just talk about that, and that grew my business to a certain point. Then it flatlined because I had stopped doing it. And I was like, man, what do I need to do? Oh, you need to get back to publishing content, do a show. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do a weekly show. And something in my spirit said, no, daily. Wait, what? Every day? And so Talking Money in the Morning Live was born, and I did over 400 plus episodes of that show every day. And just like clockwork, my business picked back up and it started growing. So I do this show for sneakily. Well, one of the reasons I do this show is to work on my speaking. One of the reasons I do it every day. It helps me to deliver. It helps me to practice out concepts and speeches and workshops and things that I want to start teaching. And so when I actually do go and teach something, I've already said it 1,000 times on the podcast. It helped me write my first and my second book because I taught it via the podcast. And then when it was time to write the book, it just flowed out because I had been teaching it for a while. The second reason that I do this podcast, though, and I think a lot of people are asleep on this, Philip, is because I would give my left arm to be able to hear my great grandfather talk about how he raised 13 kids as a sharecropper in Nettleton, Mississippi, one generation out of slavery, and how he made all of that stuff work. So I'm actually talking to future generations because we know this stuff is going to live forever. So that's why I really, really, really do this show. But then, of course, I get to talk to interesting people like yourself as well. So we're at my second favorite part of the show, Philip. And this part of the show is called freestyle because I know you got bars. You grew up in H-Town, my friend, Scarface and UGK and no. So freestyle is not necessarily about me dropping a beat, although I could drop a beat if you needed me to, if you're going to drop some rhymes, right? No, it's not about that. What freestyle is for me is as I'm building this multi-billion-dollar international media conglomerate, starting with this podcast, I realized I hadn't been trained to interview people, so I don't always ask the right questions. And sometimes the conversation doesn't always go where we want it to go. So I give you an opportunity to freestyle, either reiterate something that you feel is important, or if we didn't get to talk about something that you feel is important, then you can give it to them here and now. So this is freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Philip Sessions version. Hit them with your best bars, bro.
I want to double or triple down on the fact of consistent action, just taking consistent action in those small steps. It's something that I've really been doing myself here lately because I know thinking of the end goal in mind, thinking of the big picture sometimes is hard. But if you could break it down into what I call 4-week sprints, so have a 4-week game plan, pretty much 1 month, right? So for 1 month, 4 weeks, you have a certain amount of targets. It could be 10, 15, whatever you feel like it may be. Try not to do too many, but get whatever you can. And then each week you break that down. And now you might have to add in things that will add up to those 4-week goals. But then you might also have some things like, let's say, clean the house, take out the trash, just little things like that may be thrown into that weekly plan as well. But by doing this, you're helping yourself set yourself up to hit those 4-week targets. And then each 4 weeks, you have new targets. Or if you didn't hit it in that 4 weeks, you move it to the next 4 weeks. But at the end of the day, these little 4-week sprints will help push you to actually do more than you ever thought you could. Because if we don't have a deadline, if we don't force ourselves to do something, just like your weekly show, making yourself do it, or daily show, daily show, then you're not going to do it. So it's the same thing this 4-week sprint does. We have this big goal, perhaps, that we say we're going to do. Oh, I want to make $100,000 this year, but then we don't break that down at all. We don't look at how we can do that. What are the action steps we need to take? So we're taking these big goals that we have, such as that, and breaking it down into 4-week sprints. What are some things that I can do to help me get to that $100,000 a year, or help me get to losing that 40 pounds this year, or whatever that may be? So that's a big thing that I've been doing that I want to just tell the audience is just do some 4-week sprints and break that down week by week and be able to track your progress there. And what I love to do as well, I have it on a whiteboard. I take a picture of it. So when I'm out and about, if I've got some free time, I can look at it, and that gets me more productive on my phone. So I've actually had to go and do a time audit on myself and get rid of all my games, because I realized one day I was looking, I was like, dude, I spent 2 hours a day on average on games. And of course, that's random times too. It's not like I'm literally just sitting there the whole time, but there was some time where I'm just literally sitting there doing nothing. I'm like, I could be commenting on people's posts, sharing content, and being way more productive on my phone without that. So I took that away, and then I started these 4-week sprints to really help me out with that. But you can take a look at the picture, see, hey, what's something I can do right here? I've got 5-10 minutes. What's something I can do? One thing, I'm always trying to grow my free Facebook group. So I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I go add some people, because that's on my list. That's something I can do on my phone. And so trying to find those things and keep that top of mind. So you're taking that consistent action daily, and now it's not just some random consistent action. It's some kind of action that's going to help you get towards your goal. So really break down those goals as far as you need to as well, and just take action on it every day.
I love it. Boom. Drop the mic, ladies and gentlemen. That is freestyle right here with Philip Sessions on the Cortez Hustle Show. Those 4-week sprints, I love it, because then you can break those 4-week sprints down to the daily activities that lead to that week, and then that week is part of the four weeks. My mentor would say oftentimes that you can't measure what you don't track, and you can't grow what you don't measure. So I think that 4-week block of time is just enough where it's not too crazy, but then you can break that 4 weeks down into 1 week, and then, okay, what do I need to do in this day within this week that's going to get me closer to that 4-week sprint goal? I love it, Philip. This has been an amazing conversation for me. If you guys got some value from my man, Philip, drop a 1 in the comments for me, please. And if you have not already, make sure you drop the name of your business and or your brand, because we love to network here as well. Let everybody know what it is that you're doing. Philip, my friend, tell everybody how they can connect with you. And you mentioned a free Facebook group. Who is that for?
Yes, for anybody looking to get more confident in their speaking. So it's literally Speaking with Confidence is the name of it there on Facebook. Definitely check that out. Would love to offer a free consultation for speaking coaching. I mean, if it ends up going into business, I do have that happen on those coaching calls, but love to offer a free 1-hour coaching consultation to any of your people here watching, your audience. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, wherever at Philip Sessions.
All right. How do they get in touch with you for the 1-hour session? I'm gonna put that in the comments real quick.
Hey, let me. I should have been prepared for that. I forget the exact ending on that. So it's just
put it in a private chat, and I'll grab it and I'll throw it in.
All right. It's on Calendly, so that's why I don't know it exactly.
All right. Yeah. Good.
There we go. Right there. Got it for you.
Speaking with confidence, it really goes a long way. I remember when what really first got me into trying to get my words together. I worked with my Uncle Billy in New Orleans. My youngest son is 20, it'd be 21 years old today. So this had to be almost 25 years ago, right? But we had we would listen to the radio in the mornings all the time. And the Tom Joyner Morning Show used to do this contest, and they would give away something for free if you could talk for 30 seconds without saying
Oh.
and really, and I would try it every day, and it helped me realize how much I said the word So I started then, okay, if I'm going to speak, and I wasn't thinking about a podcast back then. That podcasting wasn't even a thing. I wasn't thinking about, having my own media company or any of that stuff. But something about that I was just, why can't I? You mean to tell me that I know I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but 30 seconds, I could at least talk 30 seconds without saying, It was a difficult thing. And that's what got me down this path of trying to figure out how to organize my words and communicate better. So I'm glad that you are out here helping people get confident in their speaking. So his website is speakingsessions.com. You guys can go check him out. I put the link to his calendar so you can book your free strategy session on how to become more confident in your speaking. And if you are an entrepreneur and you are not training on how to speak, you are literally shooting your own self in the foot. So any final words, Phil? You got 2 minutes.
Make sure you're getting better at speaking, getting in front of your audience, and really just your marketing strategy should have short videos in it, because every single platform is pushing that right now, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, obviously TikTok. All of them are pushing that right now, that short form content. So you are missing out on having a bigger reach to audience, people that you don't have currently in your audience. So make sure you're doing those short videos. Love it.
We've been listening to and learning from Philip Sessions. Make sure you guys go check him out at speakingsessions.com. Until next time, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. So hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.